He moved up in weight. He's beaten anybody that they put in front of him. He beat an undefeated fighter in Errol Spence that everybody thought was just like, you know, one of the best fighters out there. Would you want?
Because boxing is not all about knocking somebody out. Yes, that's part of it. That can happen, but boxing is a sport where you can outpoint somebody too.
Terence Bud Crawford's training camp for his forthcoming super middleweight fight against Canelo Alvarez is in full flow on his first day back. Crawford showed crisp combinations, powerful footwork, and tremendous concentration. Despite raising his weight to 168 pounds, his camp focuses on strength, stamina, and strategic sparring versus Canelo-style partners. Crawford stays bullish, saying, "I'm going to shock the world." The fight is planned on September 12, 2025, at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Terence Crawford's leg day in training camp shows his focus and discipline. He focuses on strength and endurance, using exercises like squats, lunges, and resistance training to build lower body power. This tough workout improves his footwork and balance, which are important for his forthcoming fight against Canelo Alvarez. Crawford's dedication to all aspects of training shows his willingness to confront problems in the ring.
Right.
How's that? Good light.
All right, run him up.
Good light. Nice.
Three, teach him build. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Terence Crawford's sparring sessions prior to his fight with Canelo Alvarez show his remarkable jab skills against opponents that replicate Canelo's approach. Crawford uses his jab to manage space, disrupt rhythm, and start combinations. His ability to switch stances smoothly adds complexity, putting opponents off guard. The strategic usage of the jab is important to his training, with the goal of neutralizing Canelo's power and controlling the pace of the fight.
Watch the right hand for the decoy.
Y'all know chess?
Nice. That's how Star work. You know how to work. You know how to get the most out of everything. Good job, Chuck.
Andre Ward, a former world champion, thinks Crawford's tenacity and boxing intelligence can overcome the weight difference with Canelo Alvarez. Ward stresses Crawford's cerebral power and versatility, which make him a dangerous opponent despite size discrepancies.
I'm going with Terence Crawford. You know, big weight jump, a dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you. You know, it ain't no disrespect toward Canelo, but I've said this the last couple of years. I'm not betting against Terence Crawford against nobody right now. You got to show me that you can be.
Nonito Donaire, another famous boxing figure, hails Crawford's superb footwork and mobility. He thinks Crawford's ability to use his legs well can help him outmaneuver Canelo and win the fight.
You know, Canelo's a stronger guy, the bigger guy, but in the fight with a guy that moves around, and if Crawford uses his skills and his legs and his technique and just his ability, I think he can win. He can win the fight in decision, as long as he doesn't get hit with those big shots from Canelo.
Amir Khan, who has faced both fighters, points out that while Canelo is powerful, he is also vulnerable to being hit. Khan thinks Crawford's defensive abilities and quick reflexes make him a difficult target, possibly giving him the advantage in the fight.
You fought them both. Like, what are the differences between them?
Canelo's strong and is easily hit. Very easily hit, very easily. Compared to when I fought against Crawford, I couldn't hit clean. They both hit hard because, and you could see the strength when I was fighting against Crawford. He is very strong as well. So look, yeah, but why does he need to give that much away? He's pound for pound #1 in the world. Why does he have to go for fighting Canelo?
Shocker Stevenson appreciates Crawford's versatility, saying that Bud can do anything, regardless of his opponent's stature. Stevenson underlines Crawford's ability to adapt and execute numerous techniques, making him a dangerous opponent for any boxer.
Where do you think he could go?
Canelo
said he don't. He's like
Canelo, man. Canelo got to get off that shit. And I think the best versus the best.
You don't think the size difference is gonna play a factor again?
I mean, that's y'all opinion.
Yeah.
That's everybody else's opinion.
You don't
But
think
my
that?
opinion is different. I think that Bud could do anything that he want to do. I think that with Charlo, it was just a different story. I think Bud got the skills that can keep him at that high level with Canelo, where the size won't play a part. And I seen, honestly, like, Canelo is a great fighter. I don't take nothing away from him. I see a lot of hope.
Canelo Alvarez's recent clash with William Skull has raised worries about his present form, especially his low output in the 12-round fight. The pair landed a record low for 145 punches, emphasizing Alvarez's lack of effort and involvement. Critics questioned his lessened aggression and ability to fight with younger, faster opponents, such as Terence Crawford. This performance has raised questions about Alvarez's ability to compete at the highest level, despite his past reputation for domination in the ring. Many are already wondering if his age and where will limit his ability to handle a challenger like Crawford.
And after really the Triple G fight is when we've seen the slippage on Canelo. And over the last 2 years, it's been immediately apparent. It's been apparent straight away over the last 2 years. Canelo's feet have always been slow. He's always been very slow-footed. So when people are saying, oh, it looks like his legs are slowing down, yeah, they are. They've never been quick, but now they're even slower, which is a problem. And Jim Lampley on commentary on Friday night show was saying that one of Canelo's biggest strengths is his legs. It generates power and it helps with his punch resistance. Well, those legs are sliding and that power is diminishing. Canelo hasn't had a stoppage win now since he knocked out Caleb Plant in 2021. And yeah, he's dropped some of these guys, not been able to go through the gears. His gas tank, you can put that into question as well. And Canelo Alvarez, come July, be 35 years old. So he is, look, Canelo's been around so long and his real prime was in his mid-20s. So we associate Canelo, mid-20s to early 30s. So we kind of associate Canelo with that. I don't want to say ever young, but you know, he is still young, just not in boxing senses. But he's been around so long, 20 years a pro, and he's been at world levels for probably 15 of those. You're going to expect some slippage. And I think in this fight, an opponent, it was very negative, yes, but an opponent who Canelo Alvarez of 5 years ago would have handled.
Alvarez, known for his aggressive style, only landed 152 punches, raising questions about his present form and mobility. Critics noticed the lack of intensity and lessened domination from the 34-year-old champion, suggesting that age and ring were maybe influencing his performance. This muted performance has raised concerns about Alvarez's ability to maintain his elite ranking, especially with a tough fight against Terence Crawford on the horizon.
And it left us with the question, how much does Canelo actually have left in his pro career? The fight was finished, and then they brought Terence Crawford in the ring to announce that mega fight in September, and that leaves me with even more questions, and thank God they did that, because actually it gives us a few interesting talking points from There's Enough Left. Well, you could argue Canelo got it tactically wrong tonight, because I just don't understand why he didn't use his jab more. I understand that he was conserving energy, he was patient, he was taking it slow, he doesn't lead off with the jab much anymore, Canelo, but really the jab helps you bring your feet closer and bring them into range, so I don't understand why he wasn't jabbing more. He can't use that much extra energy for him to not be able to use his lead hand just a bit more in that fight. So that was a bit concerning. And you could maybe argue that he knows Crawford's ringside. He knows the fight is done for September. He maybe doesn't want to show him too much, or he wants to give him maybe false confidence or false hope. I don't think that's the case. I think you get rid of Skull if you can. And I'm just not sure Canelo is able to do it anymore at that level. definitely good enough to beat a guy like Skull. Skull was clearly terrified of the power, but, you know, what does this mean for a fight like Crawford? Well, the first thing I noticed was in the face-off, and I'm sure Crawford was wearing quite thick-soled trainers, as he quite often does, but the size difference didn't look that bad. It really didn't. Like, I thought there was way more of a size difference between them, but actually, Canelo, yes, will weigh more on the night, almost questionably, but Crawford's taking the whole year to work his way up to 168, having been at 154 in his last fight. That's like 14 pounds, which is 7 kilos difference of weighing on the night. Now, Canelo would probably be like 10, 15 pounds heavier than him, but at the end of the day, what Skull was able to do in there tonight...
Terence Crawford has long thought that boxing is about more than just knocking out opponents. It is about outperforming them with greater talent, strategy, and ring intelligence. This philosophy is clear in his approach to each fight, in which he tailors his tactics to his opponent's strengths and limitations. Rather than relying entirely on power, Crawford's ability to outthink and outmaneuver his opponent, such as Canelo Alvarez, could prove vital. Crawford's focus on perfect timing and adaptability makes him a dangerous fighter capable of countering Canelo's sheer strength with technique and strategy.
Look up the definition of boxing. Please, please, look up the definition of boxing. The martial arts of boxing, and then come back with your opinion. Because boxing is not all about knocking somebody out. Yes, that's part of it. That can happen, but boxing is a sport where you can outpoint somebody too. That's why they go to the scorecard.
I appreciate that take, bro. That's real educated, man, real thoughtful. But you know, you ain't had a decision win in a long time, bro. You know, you known for like being a great finisher. So I appreciate that. But that ain't how you moving, though.
Right.
Terence Crawford won the WBO interim super welterweight title after going up to 154 pounds, while some analysts saw a drop in his knockout power when compared to his 147-pound reign. Crawford's technical brilliance and versatility remain obvious. His ability to adapt his plan and keep composure under pressure makes him a strong opponent in the super welterweight class. Crawford's accomplishment in this weight class shows his ability and determination to compete at the highest level.
You understand me? You see what that say? Jamel Charlo what is the WBA junior middleweight champion in recess? Jamel Charlo is the WBC junior middleweight champion in recess. Nah, man. Virgil Ortiz Jr. is the WBC intern junior middleweight champion. Nah, man. So make it make sense. People gotta make it make sense. Charlo's still a big dog there. Yeah, that's my camera behind me. Charlo's still a big dog there. So a lot of people need to get their facts straight. Understand? Opinions don't matter. It's all facts. No opinions, sport podcast. And I'm always gonna bring you the real, never the fake, and I'm never late on the news, you hear me? Get at me, man. Dollar.
Be great. That'll be 3 times. If you go 154 and win the belt, that's 3 times super. Then I said, chase super greatness. Come on, Canelo. 160.
Well, if he can get in there with Charlo in like his next 2 fights where he still got age on his side, then maybe go up again. Like if he's trying to chase the greatness. But I mean, he already done something that's never been done. Charlo don't want none of that.
Dimitri Bivol, one of the few fighters to have defeated Canelo Alvarez, thinks Terence Crawford has the ability to effectively confront Canelo. Bivol emphasizes Crawford's speed, movement, and reflexes, which might give him a huge edge in the ring. He knows that jumping up to weight classes is a major hurdle, but he thinks Crawford is a complete fighter who can adjust to the demands of the super middleweight level.
I think Crawford wants this fight a lot. He wants this fight, and I think he will be more active than Canelo's previous opponent, and he has different mentality. He has champion mentality. I think fight will be much more interesting.
What do you make of the weight in that fight, the weight difference?
I think Crawford will not let Canelo just walking on the ring when he wants, you know, because we could see this fight. Canelo did everything. When he won a rest, he could rest easy, you know, in this fight.
Yeah,
of course, when he wants to work, that guy didn't give him work. It just rest.
And
I think with Crawford, it will be harder to rest.
Who do you think wins?
I don't know. It's a very interesting fight, but I don't know. We'll see.
David Benavidez, a super middleweight contender, thinks Terence Crawford's tremendous talents and heart ethic will lead to an upset win over Canelo Alvarez, despite Crawford jumping up to weight classes. According to Benavidez, Crawford's strong boxing IQ, commitment, and adaptability make him a tough opponent. He says, if anybody can beat Canelo, it's Crawford, stressing Crawford's ability to overcome size disadvantages with skill and planning.
The Ring magazine, which is owned by Turkey, reported that Canelo and Crawford have agreed to the September date and that it's essentially on. What is your I know this has been rumored and talked about, but now it seems like a done deal. What's your reaction to this?
It's a good fight. You know, it's a good fight for both of them. Good fight for, I think it's more important for Crawford than anybody, you know, but I think if anybody could beat Canelo, I think Crawford could.
Yeah, I know you said like he could be the guy. What kind of a chance do you ultimately give him?
I think you give him like a 7 out of a 10.
Oh, 5,
Crawford is good. Crawford is good, and I think he's been known that he's going to fight Canelo for a long time. And you know, Crawford he likes to pick up the weight, so I'm sure he's been working on the weights for a long time. So, you know, Crawford, when he has with a person that has a big IQ like that, if you do enough weights, you know, and you stay working for a long time, you know, you have a
Teddy Atlas, a renowned boxing trainer and analyst, has voiced unshakable faith in Terence Crawford's potential to overcome Canelo Alvarez, despite the two fighters' substantial weight differences. Atlas cites Crawford's remarkable skills, mental tenacity, and adaptability as crucial factors a potential upset win.
Well, come on, he's human. So he had a few hiccups. He won the fight. He's Terence Crawford. A lot of people say, "Oh, Teddy, you make him so good. You're always saying how great Crawford is." You know, but who's he beating? He unified the what was his first division? Lightweight. Then he unified the junior. Then he unified the junior welter, then he unified the welter. I think I got the weight classes right. It doesn't matter. He unified like 3 different weight classes. He moved up in weight. He's beaten anybody that they put in front of him. He beat an undefeated fighter in Errol Spence that everybody thought was just like, you know, one of the best fighters out there, which he was. Fighters pound for pound out there, and he didn't just beat him, he dismantled him. He might have ruined him. We were talking about getting ruined in fights earlier. He might have ruined him. We don't know. He hasn't been back yet, Spence. He may have psychologically, physically ruined him, but he has done everything asked of him, and he's done it in a superb way. It's not that he's just won. I look at how people win. You know, how versatile are they? How mentally together are they? What happens when they're tested? What happens when they have to make an adjustment? You know, I look at all those things. What happens when they can't depend on power? What else do they have to depend on? I look at everything, their technique, their defense, their offense.
Atlas emphasizes Crawford's ability to change stances fluidly, as well as his exceptional ring acumen, which allows him to successfully control the pace and distance of a fight. He feels Crawford's speed, defensive press, and strategic intelligence can balance Canelo's power and counter-punching ability.
He's tired of me saying it. I look at him, look, Canelo's special too. I get it. And he's bigger. I get that too. And everyone's going to say, well, after Madrimov fight again, had a couple hiccups. Now he's stepping up another weight class. Now he's got to fight Canelo, who's even bigger, stronger, better puncher. You know, a unified champion that he's been. You know, all of that stuff. He's not going to be able to handle it. I asked this question. See, I go to the other side. I say, okay, yeah, can Canelo handle the smaller guy who's going to be faster, who's going to be slicker, who's going to be better defensively, who's going to have better legs, you know, who's going to be able sometimes Canelo at this point in his career can slow down a little bit. They're both getting older.
Canelo Alvarez criticized Teddy Atlas for cast favoring Crawford, saying that he does not know boxing. This reaction highlights the tension and opposing views regarding the approaching fight. The boxing world is looking forward to the fight between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, who have very different styles and a wealth of experience. This bout promises to be exciting, with the ability to change both fighters' lives.
It's finally happening, y'all. We have Terence Bud Crawford going up against Canelo Alvarez on September 12th, and this is what boxing fans have been waiting for. Terence Bud Crawford has some of the best hands I have ever seen. But this man right here with this red beard got some of the most powerful punches that boxing has ever seen. This is going to be a fight that we all have been waiting for. These are the bouts that make UFC, because in the UFC, the best fight the best, but in boxing, that seldom happens. Like why haven't we had Shakur Stevenson versus Tank Davis yet? This is sometimes boxing, for whatever reason, decides not to give us the fights that we actually want to see. But finally, thanks to some Saudi money, clearly, we are going to get one of the biggest boxing events of the last 10 years, all right? This is like Manny versus Floyd, but at the prime of their careers. I'm excited for this. Y'all let us know who you think is going to win. Is it Terence Bud Crawford or Canelo Alvarez?
That's all for today's show.